Hey guys, Mike here from Indoor Environmental Safe Space, and thanks for joining me on the Indoor Environmental Safe Space ride-along today. On today's ride-along, I wanted to take a little time and talk about a video I posted a while back called Why Her and Not Him? And that video was all about why women are more likely to suffer from indoor environmental exposure issues or autoimmune disorders than men are. And some of it has to do with lifestyle statistics and some of it has to do with hormones. But in the end, it boils down to one thing, and that is women are much more likely to suffer from indoor environmental exposure issues, including mold exposure as well as autoimmune disorders. So I wanted to take some time on this video though and talk about the story behind the story, because when I first got into doing indoor environmental investigations and working with sensitized individuals, it became very quickly apparent that 3/4 or more of my client patients that were being impacted by indoor environmental exposure issues were female. And so I was always curious, why are women more impacted? And that's what led to me digging into that very question and finding out the most prevalent theories and reasons for why women are more impacted. But what I didn't share in that video and didn't have the time to, we're trying to keep them short and compact, was what the real impact behind that is. And that is, when I go to an indoor environmental investigation, one of the first things I like to do is talk with the homeowner, client, patient, and ask, have there been any known water damage or water issues in the home? Are there areas that they're suspicious of, or where there's any malodors that we need to investigate? And then I always ask them how everyone in the home is feeling. And typically at that point, they'll start going into all of the typical symptoms of indoor environmental exposure issues and mold exposure, both allergenic and toxigenic type symptoms. They'll describe having brain fog and fatigue, digestive, gastrointestinal issues, sleep disruption, insomnia, just a whole host of issues. And when I ask them, is there anyone else in the house that's having symptoms, this is when the conversation becomes difficult for me from an empathy perspective, is a lot of times their eyes will start to tear up and their bottom lip will start to quiver, and they'll explain while trying not to cry that not only is their significant other, their partner, not having symptoms, but it's gotten to the point where he's not even believing that her symptoms are real. And here she is at a vulnerable point in her life when she's not feeling right, she's not feeling herself, she's exhausted, she's having trouble concentrating, she's experiencing all types of symptoms. And on top of that, mold exposure can disrupt our limbic system, which includes the amygdala and the hippocampus, and that's all responsible for mediating our emotions and our hormone balances. So these women are already feeling hormonally imbalanced. They're feeling heightened states of anxiety and depression and stress. And at this point, when she's really needing and wanting her partner's support, both morally and physically and emotionally and financially, in getting better and finding a solution and in getting well and getting her life back, it's at that point that she feels abandoned and not believed. And you just see the pain in their eyes, and you know it's just causing such immense pressure and strain on their relationship. And don't get me wrong, dealing with mold-related issues and exposure issues is already extremely stressful. From a financial perspective, it can be a huge amount of cost that was unanticipated and unplanned for. From an emotional and psychological perspective, people get sick and tired of being sick and tired, and the diagnosis and prognosis of environmental exposure issues and mold exposure can be very difficult. It's a difficult illness to diagnose unless a doctor's very familiar with the protocols on how to test it and diagnose it. And even once it's diagnosed, people want to know, when am I going to get better? And hence the prognosis. And a lot of times that's difficult to predict whether or not it's going to be a quick recovery or if it's going to be more of a journey to get back to being healthy again. But on top of all these stressors, I can only imagine the depth of pain and angst that is experienced when they're coming to the realization that they've got to fight this battle completely alone. And there's nothing they can really do to prove that their symptoms are real other than get the evidence from the doctor. But prior to getting that, these symptoms are not visible symptoms that you can point to, you can look at, you can touch, you can see them. Brain fog and memory loss and confusion and fatigue, these are all sensations and feelings that are difficult to demonstrate. So if someone wants to take the position that, hey, this isn't real, this is all in your head, it's hard to prove otherwise. So hopefully some of you will watch this video and it will help register the idea. It'll help make it click that yes, this is a real illness. Yes, these are real symptoms, and yes, women are 3 to 4 times more likely to experience symptoms from environmental exposure. So guys, if you're feeling fine, try to understand that it doesn't mean it's all in our head. It just means that fortunately we're not impacted as often. So we should be thankful, and hopefully this helps some of you out there understand potentially what another individual is going through that we can't experience ourselves and we can't see the proof. But hopefully it'll help some of you in this very challenging journey in finding recovery from environmental exposure issues. So thanks for riding along with me today. Keep an eye out for more ride-along videos. These are videos where I'm just going to be sharing my thoughts and insights in a more casual fashion and commenting on some of my previous videos to give you just a little bit more from field experience and from having been in the industry to help you figure it out. I'm Mike McNatt with Indoor Environmental Safe Space, wishing you and your family health and happiness in your indoor safe space. Take care, and we look forward to seeing you on the next ride along.